Good Tuesday morning, Patriots, and welcome back to O'Connor's Right Stand. I'm your host, John O'Connor, software programmer by day, conservative truth seeker by night. Today, I'm doing something a little different. Instead of diving into one story, I'm pulling back the entire curtain on one person, a rising Democrat star who perfectly represents everything wrong with the modern left. Her name is Jasmine Crockett, and if you don't know who she is yet, you need to, because she's not just another hypocrite in Congress. She is the blueprint for today's Democrat Party. All social media celebrity, zero substance, and a trail of scandals that would sink any Republican overnight. Jasmine Crockett represents Texas's 30th congressional district. She's been in Congress since 2023, and in that short time, she's become a viral sensation for her clapbacks against Republicans, her attacks on President Trump, and her performative outrage at committee hearings. The mainstream media loves her. The left celebrates her as a champion of social justice. But, Patriots, when you look past the viral videos and this carefully curated image, you find something very different. You find a pattern of behavior that's absolutely stunning in its hypocrisy. We're talking about a congresswoman who claims to fight for workers while reporting abusing her own staff, who lectures about human rights while mocking a disabled governor, who preaches about law enforcement reform while saying cops shouldn't even try to prevent crime, who exploited a police shooting victim's family for political gain, who took $1 million from one of the biggest fraudsters in American history, and just this week, she's making wild accusations about President Trump destroying evidence with absolutely zero proof. This isn't about one bad day or one mistake. This is about a systemic pattern of hypocrisy that defines the modern Democrat Party. So, buckle up, Patriots, because we are about to expose every single scandal. And by the end of this episode, you are going to understand exactly who Jasmine Crockett really is. The Right Stand starts now. Let's start with the biggest scandal that should disqualify her from ever lecturing anyone else about workers' rights again. In August, the New York Post published a bombshell report with the headline, "Trump critic, Representative Jasmine Crockett, is a no-show boss from hell who terrorizes staffers. Aides say, all diva, no wow." The report cited 3 sources who worked for or with Crockett. And Patriots, what they described is absolutely stunning. According to these sources, Crockett is verbally abusive to her staffers and has created what they call a toxic work environment. And here's the kicker. Black female staff members, the very demographic Crockett claims to champion, reportedly feel a lack of empowerment working for her. One former aide told the Post about an incident where someone on staff questioned something Crockett said. Her response, "That's not offensive. You're stupid if you think so." Real classy, right? Another time, she reportedly made a staff member cry after saying, "Do you really want to be here? And if not, you can leave." But it does get worse. The report says Crockett has burned through staff at a rapid pace because of this toxic environment. And when gay staffers in her office took issue with her using the term butch to mock Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Crockett dismissed their concerns. Let that sink in. The social justice warrior dismissed the concerns of LGBTQ staff members when they told her something was offensive. Now, here's where it gets absolutely ridiculous. According to the sources, Crockett usually works from a luxury office building instead of her actual congressional office. When she needs to travel, she demands that staffers drive her in a rented car, but not just any car. It has to be an Escalade or something of similar nature. And get this. Staffers are required to open the door for her like she's royalty. One source told the New York Post that it's widely known that Crockett mistreats her staff and is a diva who is focused almost exclusively on being an influencer. Another source said the staff is really just an island unto itself because she doesn't care about the local issues happening in her district. She's more focused on, get me on The View, get me on this late night talk show. Think about the hypocrisy here, folks. This is a Democrat who votes for every workers' right bill that comes across her desk. She talks constantly about protecting workers from abusive employers. She champions unions and labor protections. But behind closed doors, she's reportedly treating her own staff like personal servants, making them cry, dismissing their concerns, and demanding they chauffeur her around in luxury SUVs while opening the door like she's some kind of aristocrat. When CBS News asked Crockett about these allegations, she laughed. She actually laughed. No apology, no acknowledgement, just dismissal. Because that's what Democrats do. They preach one thing and live another. Now, let's talk about something Crockett said in September that might be even more dangerous than her staff abuse. During an appearance on the Grounded podcast, she made a statement that absolutely floored law enforcement officers across the country. Here's the exact quote, and I preface this by saying this is kind of hard to read. I want to be clear that, like law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? That is what they are supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening per se. A sitting member of Congress just told America that police officers aren't supposed to prevent crime. Just solve it after people are victimized, after women are raped, after people are murdered, after homes are burglarized. Just solve it later. The backlash was immediate. Nick Sortor, a journalist, shared the clip and wrote, WTF, Jasmine Crockett. Law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? One police officer responded directly on social media saying, Jasmine Crockett is wrong. It is our job to prevent crime. We just need more support. I didn't sign up just to wait for people to be victimized. Think about what this reveals about the Democrat mindset, Patriots. They don't want cops patrolling neighborhoods. They don't want cops stopping crime before it happens. They want cops to show up after the damage is done, after lives are destroyed, after innocent people are victimized. This is the natural conclusion of the defund the police movement. This is what soft on crime policies lead to. And remember, I just did an episode about the murder of Zarutska on that Charlotte light rail train. You know what might have prevented her death? Police presence on that train. Cops preventing crime instead of just solving it after a young woman was brutally stabbed to death. Crockett's statement isn't just stupid. It's dangerous. And it perfectly captures the Democrat approach to public safety. Reactive instead of proactive. Concerned with social justice theory instead of protecting actual human lives. Here's a scandal that really shows you who Jasmine Crockett is when the cameras aren't rolling. Or actually, in this case, when they are rolling. In March, Crockett spoke at the Human Rights Campaign's annual dinner. The Human Rights Campaign, for those who don't know, is a major LGBTQ advocacy organization that claims to fight for dignity and equality for all people. And what did Jasmine Crockett do at their event? She called Texas Governor Greg Abbott Governor Hot Wheels and a hot-ass mess. Now, Patriots, let me remind you that Governor Abbott is in a wheelchair due to a paralysis injury from an accident when he was 26 years old. And this Democrat congresswoman at a human rights event mocked him with a reference to his wheelchair. When she got called out for this disgusting behavior, Crockett denied that the comment had anything to do with Abbott's disability. She claimed it was about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants to Democrat communities. Right. Because when you call a wheelchair-bound person Hot Wheels, that's totally not a reference to their wheelchair. Governor Abbott responded perfectly. It's another day and another disaster by the Democrats. Let's be clear about what happened here. Jasmine Crockett went to a human rights event, an event supposedly about dignity and respect, and made fun of a disabled person. Imagine if a Republican did this. Imagine if a conservative called a wheelchair-bound Democrat Hot Wheels at a public event. The mainstream media would cover it 24/7 for weeks. Democrats would demand resignation. There would be a congressional censure resolution. But when Jasmine Crockett does it, crickets. Because rules don't apply to Democrats. especially when the target is a Republican. Speaking of wheelchairs, there's another incident that really reveals Crockett's character. Earlier this year, a video surfaced showing Crockett boarding a flight while apparently skipping ahead of two passengers in wheelchairs who were waiting to board. Now, airlines have clear policies about boarding. Passengers who need extra time, including those in wheelchairs, typically board first. But apparently, Jasmine Crockett couldn't be bothered to wait. One source close to Crockett told the New York Post about this incident, and I quote, "Her cutting in line in front of a handicapped person is really indicative of the type of person she is." Think about the pattern here, Patriots. First, she mocks a disabled governor at a human rights event. Then she cuts in line ahead of a wheelchair passengers at an airport. This isn't about one bad moment. This is about someone who fundamentally believes the rules don't apply to her, that she's more important than anyone else, that disabled people are beneath her. And this is the person lecturing Americans about equality and dignity and human rights. Now, let's talk about one of the most disgusting scandals in Crockett's career. This involves Botham Jean, a young black man who was tragically shot and killed in his own apartment in Dallas in 2018 by an off-duty police officer who claimed she mistakenly entered his apartment thinking it was her own. The case became national news, you might remember it, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. Botham Jean was an innocent man murdered in his own home. His family deserved justice and respect. But according to multiple reports, Jasmine Crockett saw an opportunity. She apparently began representing herself as the Jean family's attorney, using this connection for political gain as she launched her career into politics. Here's the problem. The Jean family said that wasn't true. They issued a cease and desist letter to Crockett, stating that she was misrepresenting herself as their attorney. They vehemently denied that Crockett had ever represented them in the interest of Botham and accused her of exploiting the tragedy for personal and political motives. Think about how low you have to be to do something like this. A family is grieving the murder of their son, and a politician, or wannabe politician, decides to falsely claim she represented them to boost her own career. When confronted, Crockett acknowledged there was potential confusion on her website and said any inaccuracies were promptly addressed. But the damage was done. This is what Democrats do. They exploit black victims and black families for political gain while claiming to be champions of the black community. It's disgusting, and the Jean family called her out for it. The stories just keep coming. Let's talk about money. In 2022, when Jasmine Crockett was running for Congress, she received massive financial support from super PACs aligned with the cryptocurrency industry. Specifically, she got $1 million from Sam Bankman-Fried's Protect Our Future PAC. For those who don't remember, Sam Bankman-Fried ran FTX, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world. He positioned himself as a major Democrat donor and threw money at Democrat candidates across the country. And then, in 2022, FTX collapsed in spectacular fashion. It was one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. Billions of dollars lost, customers' money stolen, and Sam Bankman-Fried was eventually convicted on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy. But before all that came crashing down, he gave Jasmine Crockett's campaign $1 million. $1 million from a guy who was running what prosecutors called a massive fraud scheme. Now, did Crockett know FTX was a fraud when she took the money? Probably not. But here's the question. Where's that money now? Has she returned it? Has she donated it to the victims of FTX fraud? Or did she just pocket it and move on? This matters, Patriots, because it shows who Jasmine Crockett is willing to get in bed with. Crypto fraudsters, as long as they write her big checks. It's the same old story. Democrats will take money from anyone, lecture everyone about ethics and corruption, and then act shocked when their donors turn out to be criminals. And finally, let's talk about what Crockett has been up to just this week. On October 1st and 3rd, she made headlines again. This time for making wild accusations about President Trump and the Jeffrey Epstein files. During an appearance on CNN, Crockett suggested that the White House twisted somebody's arm to block efforts to release Epstein files. Then, in an interview with internet personality Russell Ellis, she went even further, claiming Trump is destroying evidence related to Epstein. Here's what she said, and I quote, "We may still be talking about it come September, when we come back into session, but to go from it's on my desk to it doesn't exist, they may be engaging in destroying evidence. We know that he's not above that." She also referenced the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case, saying Trump decided he wanted to engage in destroying evidence. Let me be very clear, Patriots. Jasmine Crockett provided absolutely zero evidence for any of these claims. None. She just made wild accusations against the President of the United States, claiming he's destroying evidence with nothing to back it up except her own conspiracy theories. This is what Crockett does. When she's not abusing her staff or making fun of disabled people or exploiting murder victims, she's making baseless accusations against Republicans to score political points and get herself on TV. In another interview, she mocked the administration, saying, "Buy us a month, we'll destroy everything, and then we can go ahead and release it. No evidence. Just conspiracy theories designed to make her go viral on social media." So let's step back and look at the complete picture of Jasmine Crockett, Patriots. She abuses her staff, particularly black women, while voting for workers' rights legislation. She demands to be driven in rented Escalades with staffers opening her door while claiming to represent working people. She says police shouldn't prevent crime while crime skyrockets in Democrat cities. She mocks disabled people at human rights events. She cuts in line ahead of wheelchair passengers at airports. She exploited a murdered man's family for political gain. She took $1 million from a crypto fraudster. And she makes wild accusations against the president without a shred of evidence. This isn't about one scandal. This is a pattern. And Patriots, this pattern is important because Jasmine Crockett isn't an outlier. She's the perfect representation of today's Democratic Party. Democrats preach equality while treating people beneath them like servants. They lecture about human rights while mocking disabled people. They claim to champion black Americans while exploiting black families and abusing black staff members. They talk about workers' rights while creating toxic workplaces. They demand police reform while telling cops not to prevent crime. They rail against corruption while taking money from fraudsters. It's all performance. It's all for the cameras, for the viral clips, for the social media engagement. Jasmine Crockett admitted as much when her own staff said she's focused almost exclusively on being an influencer. That's the goal, not public service, not helping constituents, not making America better, just getting famous, getting on TV, and just going viral. And the mainstream media enables all of it. They celebrate Crockett's clapbacks and her sass, while ignoring the staff she's reportedly abused. They platform her conspiracy theories about Trump while never asking for evidence. They run her attacks on Republicans while never holding her accountable for mocking disabled people or exploiting grieving families. This is why I do what I do, Patriots. This is why O'Connor's Right Stand exists. Because someone has to expose the truth. Someone has to pull back the curtain on these frauds. Someone has to say out loud what the mainstream media refuses to report. Jasmine Crockett is a fraud. She's a hypocrite. She's everything wrong with modern politics wrapped up in one social media obsessed package. And every single American needs to know the truth about who she really is. So here's what I need you to do, Patriots. Share this episode. Share it widely. Make sure everyone in your circle knows who Jasmine Crockett really is. When you see her going viral for some performative outrage, comment with the facts. Remind people about the staff she's reportedly abused, about the disabled governor she mocked, about the family she exploited, about her absurd statements on crime and policing. The mainstream media won't do it, so we have to. The left will try to cancel anyone who speaks the truth, so we have to speak louder. Democrats like Crockett count on Americans not paying attention, not connecting the dots. We are going to make sure they can't hide anymore. And to Jasmine Crockett, if you're listening, the truth always comes out. You can laugh off the allegations, you can dismiss the victims, you can keep making wild accusations, but Patriots are watching. We are documenting, and we are not letting you get away with it anymore. This is John O'Connor, reminding you to hold the line unapologetically. Find me on X at O'Connor Podcasts. Check out the website at o'connorsrightstand.com. And make sure you like and subscribe because we're just getting started here. And I would be amiss if I did not tell you to check out my other podcasts on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. O'Connor's Quick Strike. Jump over to yesterday's show. It was a damn good one. Remember, when Democrats show you who they really are, believe them. And when they try to hide it, expose it. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight. I'll see you tomorrow on O'Connor's Quick Strike. This is John O'Connor, signing off.